Hi, welcome to Gilded Loop Crochet. My name is Matt, and if you are new here, make sure to check out some of my other videos. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are returning, already know what I'm about to say. You're a member of the Gilded Loop fam, the Guild, and welcome back. So this is a supplemental video that goes along with my watermelon summertime tote bag. However, you do not have to use that tote bag specific tutorial for this. This is for any 13 square granny square tote bag that you would make, or bag, not necessarily just tote bag, but any 13 square granny square bag that you would make, this method will work with it. So this is the method that you're going to be laying out. I do have a little diagram, which I will insert an actual better quality picture for you to be able to see. But this is my diagram that I put together that tells me exactly what I need to do to get this to all seam up together. I would call this a continuous join. However, there are some breaks in it. My method is probably a little bit different than some other methods that you have seen before. That's why I did this in a standalone video. It is to go along with my watermelon tote bag. However, I wanted to put this video together for anyone who is putting together a 13 square tote bag, who wants to be able to continuously seam these together, and how to accomplish that. Because I will be completely honest, there's a lot of different information out there. So maybe this works for you. And if it does, fantastic. So this is the layout that you're going to have for your tote bag. Again, what you're going to do is this is the layout that you're going to follow. Don't pay attention to all the numbers on here right now, but this is just for you to be able to see how to lay this out. I do have a pattern for my tote bag on my Etsy shop. If you do want to purchase that, it does have all of these exact diagrams in it. But if you pay attention to this video, I will put all the information that you need to know in this video. So these blue squares here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, are all going to be just done up with a round of granny squares around. So that is this. So work up your center square, however you're going to work. It doesn't have to be this pattern or this design. It could be a regular granny square, whatever you're going to do. Finish how far you want to take it. And then you're going to go ahead and make your border. These borders is what you're going to connect. Now, your border might be the same color as the center of your square, or it could be something completely different. So there are 6 squares that you are going to need to go an additional round on with whatever you're going to be seaming these up with. Okay, so that's an example of that. If you're interested in the yarn that I'm using in this tutorial, I am using Premier Hipster Cotton in the color Popular, and the border is done up in Premier Home Cotton in the color Moss Green Splash, just so you know the colors. I know I always get asked. Okay, so you're going to lay this out. The first thing that you're going to notice, and sorry for the filming angle, I'm doing this on my dining room table because I needed something that has a little bit more space. First thing that you'll notice is I took stitch markers and seamed these together like they were clothespins, just to kind of hold it together. Now, I want to show you what happens. Basically, you are going to be folding this up and putting this together like that, and then these 2 squares on the side will fold in, and now you can really see the tote bag. These are 7-inch squares to begin with, by the way. So I call this a tote bag because it's pretty sizable. If you were to use 5-inch squares, your tote bag will be a little bit smaller. You do 9-inch squares, your tote bag will be much larger. So your tote bag is dictated by the size of your squares. Okay, so let's unfold this back out. and put her back out on the table here. Okay. So let's take this step by step. So first thing that I'm going to do is I know I need to have 6 squares where I complete the final round. Okay, so that's the tops, these 2 bottoms, and then these 2 right above it. So I'm going to go ahead and complete that final round on those ones with my moss green splash. And I'll meet you right back here. Okay, so I've gone through and I have added my rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, when I say I added my rounds, all that I mean is I did granny clusters in each open space and I did my corners. So a granny cluster of 3 double crochets, chain 2, granny cluster of 3 double crochets. Just your standard round. Forgive my ends, I have not woven them in yet. Right? So here we go. Here is our layout all put out. Okay, we have our diagram. And on this diagram, what it shows us is that we completed those 6 squares. Okay. Now, the next thing that we need to do is we're going to be doing this middle section. So we're going to be working this square, and this square. And we're going to be attaching other squares to them. So first thing that we need to do is we need to work this round and this round. We're going to be attaching 2 squares as we're working this. This is the join as you go method. Continuous join, join as you go, same thing. And we're going to be attaching other squares along the way. You ready? Let's go ahead and start working some of these squares. So first thing that I need to do is I am going to work this square and this square. Okay, so my one square already has 1 row and this one doesn't. So let me grab my yarn. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and attach the yarn here. Ooh, I did not give myself enough. All right, I'm going to drop my loose end. I'm going to chain up 2 more. So however you attach, you should have a chain of 3 here. Okay. All right. Now, this is on your unworked square. You're going to have that chain of 3. Now you're going to be coming over here and you're going to be working these clusters and attaching them to this other existing square. So I have chained up my 3 here. I need to come over here and attach to the corner of this square by just a slip stitch. So now that that's attached, okay. Now I'm coming back to my original square here and I'm yarning over and I'm going to do 2 more double crochets to complete that granny cluster. 1, 2. Now it might look a little goofy, but it's going to come together. Okay. Now I am going to come over to this very next area over here in this originating square. Okay, and I am going to slip stitch. Okay, just connecting those pieces. I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to make 3 double crochets, making a granny cluster on the square that has the unworked cluster. 2 and 3. Then I'm going to come back over to this other square that has the border edge worked, and I'm coming back over. I've already slip stitched into here, so I need to slip stitch into this next open space. Okay, so I'm going to just come on through and slip stitch there. Just pull that a little tighter. All right. Oh, lost my square here for a second. Okay, so I have worked here. So my next space that I need to work is here, right? So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to do 3 more double crochets into this unworked space. 2 and 3. And then I need to slip stitch into this next available space here. And then I'm coming back over. And I'm just alternating back and forth. Okay, so I'm doing a double crochet here. Double crochet. And I'm coming back into my next available space over here to slip stitch in. We're alternating. We're just going back and forth. We're doing 1 cluster in our unworked space, and we're coming back over to the other side that is already finished and slip stitching into one of the open spots. Coming back and coming back and forth, until we've reached the end of the row. So yarn over, make double, and then 3, which forms our granny cluster. Come back over here, slip stitch. Okay, I need to yarn over, come back into this space, make another granny cluster. And my yarn barf is letting me know it's there. Let me fix that. Okay, all fixed. So let's go ahead and continue and do our last double crochet here, which forms our granny cluster. Come back in here and do our slip stitch. And then now we're working our corner, which will be our last granny cluster on this side. And then we're going to go ahead and slip stitch here in the corner of the square. All right, give myself a little looseness there. Now, that is what we're looking like. So we've gone ahead and got these connected. They're connected very nicely. And it just creates a nice look, you know. It allows you to kind of join as you go. You don't have to worry about all these seams and stuff. These are never coming undone. So that's where we're at with that. So here's where we're at so far. So we have worked that one and that one. So, whoops, I have it upside down. Okay, so we have come down here, and now we need to come down here. So I'm going to be working this side, which is right here, and we're going to be attaching it to this square. Actually, we're not attaching to that square yet. We're going to come to that. So some of these are just going to be going down the side of the square, because in this method, in order to attach, you have to have one side that is finished and has the clusters already made, and the other one that's raw and doesn't have it yet. And then that's how you connect in the way that I just showed you. Okay, so the next little bit, we're going to just be working down the sides. So I'm still working this square, but I'm just working down the side. So let me go ahead and find my loop here. Now I'm just going to kind of pull it a little tighter. Now I still need to have my chain 2 space here. Okay, so I'm just going to pull as tight as I can get, and then I'm going to chain my 2, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the second half of my corner. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. There we go. And then see, it's got a nice straight edge there, and you've created your corner. So now we're just going to kind of go down this one side. We're just doing one side now. And as we go down, we're just going to make our granny clusters. We're not connecting it to anything. We're just creating this side. Nice and easy. Almost there. Now, when we get down to this corner here, we're going to finish working the corner, and then we're going to stop and see what we need to work next. 2. Boy, I really am plagued by this yarn barf on this one. Okay, and 3. Okay. So we have worked here, and we just did this. We just did number 2 here, coming down this way. Now we need to go ahead and connect our next square and just start going down that way. Okay, so our next square down is going to be this one. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this is where we're at. We came down here. Now we need to connect this square. Not these, but we're jumping down here. Okay, and then when we connect that square, we're going to be coming down this side. Again, we're not attaching anything. We're just working down the row here. So let's go ahead and grab this square here. And we are literally just attaching at the corner here. Let me attach in a better way. So I'm going to attach this with a slip. Actually, probably single. We're going to chain 3 with what I just attached it to. Okay, and then remember I need to work this side. So I'm just going to flip my work so I can work comfortably on that side. So I attach that with a little bit of slip, and then I chained, so I have a total of chain 3 here. Okay, so that's going to count as my first double crochet. I'm just going to come down, make a second and a third. Your challenge with this method is just maintaining your tension, really. Okay. It'll be real easy. We're just going down the row, and then we'll see where we are at next. Oh. I'm just going to go down the row, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. Okay, so we're right here. We just made our turn. We came down here. Now, if we look at our diagram, we only have to come down this side of this square. However, when we're coming down this side of the square, remember, I got myself all discombobulated here. If we're coming down a side of the square that is attaching to another square that is already worked, we're going to need to attach those two together. So come down here and come down here. We need to attach these two together right here. The point where you attach just on the corner is a little tricky. So I will show you that again when we get down here, okay? But we're going to go ahead and attach this square. This is the easiest one because, you know, if you've done a continuous join or a JAYGO before, this should feel really familiar. All right, let's go ahead and have our yarn. Now we need to go ahead and do a slip stitch to attach. Okay, and then we're going to come back over here. I'm going to chain 2 because I need to make my corner for this other square. Okay, and I'm coming in and I'm working my granny cluster on this other square. I'm working the corner. Okay, and then I'm coming back over here. No, sorry, I'm trying to maintain my tension while still holding this where I can show you. And we're just going to slip stitch in here. And we're coming into the next available open space on the other square. And we're working our 3 doubles to form our granny cluster. Okay, and then we're going to come on back here. This is our next available space. It has not had a slip stitch worked into it yet. And so that's what we're going to do. Just kind of attaching to this one side. And then we're going to come back over to this other square. We're going to look for our next available space that has not been worked into yet. Tighten up our tension a little bit. I'm going to come in here and we're going to work our 3 double crochets. There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. And we're going to go back and forth again. Slip stitch. And our 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. So we just kind of alternate. On the finished side, we're doing a slip stitch. And on the unfinished side, we're doing the 3 double crochets. And that's how you are attaching. 2, 3. If you're sitting up against the table, the tension is not as hard as holding it up here. There, I've attached. One, 2, and 3. And slip stitch. And then now we're finally in our corner. Work our 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So let's set this back like this. Beautiful. All right. So let's go back to our diagram. All right. So we have just attached this B4 to R2. And now we're going to come down here. We're working down this side here. And we are going to be attaching to this square because it has a finished side. Okay, and then once we're done coming down there, we're going to be working down here. Okay. All right, so first thing that I need to do is, I forgot to do my slip stitch in this corner. All right, let me make sure I like to double, triple, quadruple check, so I'm not doing anything wrong. we're coming here, so I need to attach this square to this square right here. Okay. All right, so I've attached. I need to do my double crochets here. I don't need to chain 2 because I'm not working a corner yet. I'm just creating my initial double crochets into this new square. Okay, let me just reposition myself a little bit here. Get my tension regained. And I'm coming just right back into this next space here that I haven't worked into yet. Slip stitching into that. And then I'm just coming back here onto my new square and working my 3 double crochets. Okay, and then we're just doing the same thing that we were doing before. We're doing, yeah, my tension's getting a little screwy because it's a little weighted, but I'm going to have to come down a little closer to the table, if that's all right with y'all. All right, so do our 3 double crochets here. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to come over here and we're going to slip stitch. And then we're going to come back over here into our next unworked space, and we're going to do our 3 double crochets. That's 1, 2, and 3. Slip stitch here and back over here, and we're doing 1, 2, and 3, and slip stitch. Get our doubles all in there. If at any point you need to fast forward, slow down, anything like that, please feel free to do that, and you can jump ahead or move back as you need to. I'm just trying to take this slower for anyone who may need it. Oh. 1, 2, 3. If you're interested, the hook that I'm using is the Furls Odyssey 2 hook, the newer one. And I am an affiliate of Premiere and Furls. Just check my description for a link if you'd like to use that. That's my shameless plug. All right, so we're working the corner here. 2 and 3. And then we're just slip stitching here into this corner, and then we're coming back. All right, so that's all worked. Now, again, I'm going to place everything right back because I want to make sure that I am getting everything where I need to have it. Okay, so we've got that there. And then we have this. Let me get repositioned. Okay, we got all repositioned and we're good to go now. Okay, so now the next part is we're going to go ahead and connect this row here. And then we're going to be starting to come back up the other side. So I'm going to be coming down here and coming up here. Okay, now this is my location right now in this corner. We just finished coming down here. Okay, so I am going to be working a corner here. So this is where we're going to be doing a little bit of a chain 2. So I'm going to just sandwich this and this together. All right, so that's where I'm at. Now, I need to do my slip stitch first before I chain 2 for my corner. So I'm just going to come into the corner of this. Okay, we're going to slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain my 2, and then I'm going to come over here and work my corner on this pink square that is unworked. That's going to be creating my corner. Boom. All right, now we're just going to work down the way, right? Back and forth. So we already slip stitched into the corner, so we're going in this next space here, slip stitching into there, and flipping back over to this side here, do my 3 double crochets in my next unworked space, and we're just going to kind of go down the row. So I'll meet you at the end of this row. All right, yay, we've made it all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to start to go back up to the top. So again, let's recap looking at this diagram that I have here. So we zigzagged down like this. Here's where we're at now, and now we're going to be zigzagging back up. So we're going to be working here, 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 and here. And that we're basically connecting everything, working off of these 3 center squares here, and it's going to connect the majority of pieces together. And this is done in a 3-fold pattern. So you have your 6 squares that you border completely. Then we tackle the next section, which is these 3 center squares that we're working right now. And then the last section that we do is we handle these 2 and these 2, which are used in the folding of this up together. Okay, so we're getting there. We just got to get up this little zigzag here. Okay, so next we're going to be going up this row, and we're connecting this square, and then we're going to be going up this row, and we're connecting this square. Then we'll continue to go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and connect this square here. So I'm going to do exactly what I did over here with my chain 2. So I'm going to slip stitch here. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to do double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet, slip stitch, granny cluster or the double crochets, slip stitch, cluster, stitch, cluster, stitch, cluster, stitch, and then I'm going to end up at this end. Then I'm going to slip stitch to attach to this corner, chain 2, cluster, slip stitch, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, cluster, and slip into this corner. I will meet you right here. All right, so here's where we're at. We've connected all of this, and we're back to this corner here. So the whole bottom of our bag is connected. Okay, so now we need to work this corner here. So we've just finished coming down to the end of this row. Okay, now I need to be able to connect over to this square and to this square. So we're essentially working 4 corners right now. Hopefully this is visible on the camera, but I'm just going to come into the corner of this square, and I'm going to slip stitch into that corner. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 because I want my chain space for this square. Okay. There, I've come up and I can visibly see a chain space there. So that looks good to me there. So I've handled 1, 2, this 3rd corner. Now I just have to go ahead and get into this 4th corner here. Now this 4th corner is where I'm going to be working my next row. So I'm going to handle this just like I normally would. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. 1, 2. And then I can come in here and I can start working my corner here. Whoop. Yarn over. Very important in a double crochet. Work my 3 double crochets here, and that has created my corner. I don't need to slip stitch into here because I'm already kind of slip stitched into that area. So I do need to slip stitch into the next one over. I'm going to go ahead and work here. And then we'll slip stitch in here. And let's just take a pause so we can see that our corner here, the centerpiece, actually, no, I was wrong. Okay, so when we finish this cluster here in the corner, actually before that cluster. Okay, so we have worked our 3 sides here. We need to go ahead and work the 4th. So I need to go ahead and slip stitch. Okay, so we have worked our 3 sides here. This square, and this square are connected. We need to go ahead and connect this square. Now we need to slip stitch into this corner just like we have been doing. Okay, now I need to do my chain 2 space because I'm working a corner here in this square. So let me go ahead and do my chain 2. 1, 2. And then I can start to work over here just like I have been on the other ones, and I'll show you the corner in just a minute. It's going to look real nice and neat. And slip stitch in here. Let's work one more cluster space. 2, 3. And we'll slip stitch in right here. Okay. Should be able to show you now. That corner looks, this piece where all 4 squares met, it looks really, really pretty. Beautiful. I'm really happy with that join. And so where I'm at with this right now is I am going to continue coming up here. Let me just make sure. Checking my chart. Okay, so we're going to continue to come up here. And then we're going to be working up this way. So continue to come up here, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, cluster, slip into your corner here. And then you're going to chain 2. And then you are going to be working just in the side, just one side of this square. You're not attaching this square yet, because remember, you have to have one side that's finished in order to do the attachment. So here we're going to go ahead, finish down here. You're going to come up here, and you're going to just be working in one side, and then you're going to do the same thing here. You're just going to be working in one side, and then we will attach this guy here at the very top. So I'm going to work this side, and then we'll meet back here at this square. Okay, so I've worked up here, and then I worked up here. Okay, and then we just have this one last piece, and then we will have our whole center row connected, and we'll just have these 2 stragglies on either side to connect, but we're going to connect that when we close the bag up together. Okay, so let's go ahead and work this last section here. So I'm going to pick up where I left off. So remember, we need to slip stitch into this corner. We need to chain 2. So we have our corner on this piece. And we're going to do our 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now let's go ahead and slip stitch here. Sorry I'm not able to get a little of a closer up view for you all. Maybe I can zoom up a little bit for this. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and attach here. Coming over to the other, so we're doing cluster. On the alternating square, a slip stitch. Cluster on the alternating square, a slip stitch. We're just kind of going through all of that. I'm going to meet you at the end here. All right, so I'm at the very end here, and I'm just doing my last cluster here into the corner. 2 and 3. Okay. Okay, so for my very last part here that I'm working on, drop that. I need to have here. This is right where our squares are meeting. So all that I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2 like I have been doing. And I'm not going to stitch into here. I'm going to stitch into my very top stitch here because this is closing all of this. And see, that will give us a nice clean look. And I'm going to clip off and pull 2. All right, so let's go ahead and all right, so we got everything all connected and looking good. Just tuck some of this away. All right, so we have our top pieces. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see. So we have our top pieces of our work. We have our bottom pieces. Now we're going to be folding this and working the rest. So our fold occurs right here across the dead center of this square. Okay, and then we have all of that connected. Now I can zoom up a little bit. Just move a couple things around. All right, and then these pieces are going to fold into the sides. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and flip this over just for ease of being able to see. So let me just move some of this stuff out the way. I'm matching all of this up like this. Okay, there's my bottom piece. It's folded here. I'm going to go ahead and tie in some of my ends here in a moment. But we have this piece. And then, actually, I think I wanted a little more pink over here and some more green over here, so that'll work fine. And then we've got these two pieces, which will serve for our sides here. Okay, we're going to be nearing the finish line soon here, folks. We have our final pieces to go ahead and attach. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to be working our corner pieces first and then this last connecting piece. Let me just set these all in place. These last connecting pieces, I'm just going to set over to the side for right now because I'm going to be working with this, okay, so we're going to start. We're just going to do one side at a time. And we're going to start with this side. Okay, so we're going to be working from here over, and we're going to be connecting to this piece as we go. And then we're going to work from here over, connecting as we go. And then we're going to fold this over. We're going to fold this down. And then we're going to be connecting here and here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I went ahead and I just chained up 3 here. Now I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into this corner space here. Boom. And then I can come back in and finish my 2 double crochets right here. Now it's going to feel a little awkward, but it is going to be just fine. Okay. Now I'm just going to pull this up here so I can sandwich these 2 pieces together a little bit more. I need to come in and I need to slip stitch into this next open space. Boom. And then we're going to be doing the same thing that we did on some of the other squares, where we're doing our 3 double crochets. Our raw edge of this square, coming back through, slip stitching in here. Same deal. One, 2, and 3. And then coming back through and slip stitching in here. I'm going to take this down to the end of the row and meet you there. Okay, so we came down and we finished down to the end of that row. Now we're dealing with another 4 corner situation here. So remember, when we're dealing with the 4 corners, we got to treat it a little bit differently. So I just slip stitched into this corner. Okay, now I have this corner's already done. This corner's done. This is the corner we're working on right now. So first thing that I need to do to properly work on this corner is I need to slip stitch into this corner right here. Okay, so now in sequence of what I just did, I finished this row, I came in and I slip stitched into this corner. Then I came directly over to the square directly across the way and I slip stitched that corner. Now I'm going to chain 2 for my for this one right here, and I'm going to work my 3 double crochets. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in. Oh, I just had one fall out. fix that. We're going to come back in. We're going to sandwich this a little bit because it just makes it easier. We're going to come back in and we're going to slip stitch in this space across the way, do 3 double crochets here, and we'll come back and we'll look at that corner in just a second. 2 and 3, and this slip stitch here. Let's come back and just look at that corner and see if we like how it looks. And I do. I think that this corner, let me just spread her a little bit. See? I think that corner looks very nice. It's got even spacing in between the chain spaces and everything there. It all looks really nice. So I'm happy with that corner. So now I'm going to come back and finish down, and I'll meet you at the end of this row. All right, so we're at the end of that row. And let's see what we're looking like here. All right, we are looking really good. Now here's a spot where we fold over. We gotta get ourselves all combobulated again in the right orientation, huh? Okay, so we got that. Boom. All right. So we are going to be attaching this square next. Okay, just making sure that I've got the correct one. And I'm happy with the layout. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and be connecting this square. All right, so I need to figure out, okay, here I am. I didn't lose any stitches. Nope, we're good. All right, so I'm going to be connecting this square now. So I folded this over. I need to go ahead and slip stitch into my corner here. And from here, we're going to chain 2 for our corner, just like we had done before. And then we're going to double crochet 3 times here, making this corner. And then we're going to come over and we're going to, let's take a look here. This is going to be folded over this corner piece. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch here. Now, because we're working in the corner here, this half corner piece that I worked in this is going to serve as my double crochet for 1/2 of my corner here on this. So it's like they're going to share a corner. Okay, so I've come to the end of my row here. As we can see, end of the row. Now it's time to flip this up. So we're going to go ahead and flip that up, fold it in half. Now, before we can attach this square in, we need to have our finished edge here because these are all raw edges on this one. Okay, so we're just going to do double crochet down this row. When we get down to this end, we're going to attach here because this side is finished. Okay, so I have folded, I've slip stitched in, I've folded. I need to chain 2, come back in here, work my 3 double crochets. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and work my 3 double crochets all the way down the row, and I'll meet you down here. All right, so we have finished coming down the row here. And now we want to go ahead and attach to this piece here. So what we're going to do is we've just finished our 3 double crochet there. And we're just going to slip stitch here into this corner. So it's the corner of this square here. Okay, and then we need to chain 2 for our corner. 1, 2. Then we're going to come back in over here and do our 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to come back in here and slip stitch in this next space. And we're just going to be alternating cluster, slip stitch, cluster, slip stitch, cluster, slip, cluster, slip, just like we have been doing. And I'll meet you at the end of that row. Okay, we're now at the end of this row. And this is an important piece in our project. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So we have come down here. This is our folded piece. Now, you may see these 2 pieces here with the finished edges and say, oh no, we're going to have to sew those or seam those together, but this is the top of the bag. Okay, so this is where your handles will go, so those don't need to be sewn together. Now, you do need to make this edge a little prettier. So what we're going to do is we are just going to take into this corner of this other square that we have neighboring it. We just want to slip stitch into that. Okay, and then that should suffice. Now, we're going to tie this off. We'll leave a little tail so we can weave in that end. Okay, and then we have the top of the bag. I'm going to weave my end in up this way because it'll be hidden in and really secured because I'll be putting my handles here. Okay, now we have the side of the bag is all done, all in there. So now we just have this piece here that needs to be attached to here. And what we can see is we have all 4 corners finished here. Finished edge here, here, and here, and all unfinished edges on this one. So this should be actually pretty simple. I'm just gonna kind of go around in a circle. So I'm just thinking of the best place to start. I'm gonna start here towards the center. That way none of my tails are being woven in on the side of the bag where they would be likely to come undone at some point in the future. So I don't know if that's the best philosophy, but it's my philosophy. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and just attach. I'm going to chain up 2 more to make a chain of 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my granny cluster here, or my 3 double crochets. Boom. Let me try to zoom in just a smidge here. Sorry, I am filming this all by myself, so I'm trying to get the camera angles the the best that I can. Okay, so we have this piece done up here. Now we're going to go ahead and attach right here. So we're not attaching in the corner for this piece because we did this. And when I come back through, I'm going to secure this again with a slip stitch on the top of here and over here. So it's going to be a little, it's going to feel like that one corner is not quite attached. But don't worry, we'll fix that in the end. So we need it to all line up correctly. All right. So I just slip stitched in there. I'm going to come back in here and do my 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. And then we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. Is we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch in here. So again, I find it easiest to just sandwich them together as much as I can. So I'm going to do that again. Our 3 double crochets. 1, 2. Wow, I'm struggling with this one. 2 and 3. And then slip stitch in to this one, and I'll meet you at the corner. Okay, so I've just come to the end of this row, and then you're gonna, this is the side of your bag right here, okay? But I'm just turning this to where I can work with it and not have it be at like an awkward angle, right? So we're in our corner here. I'm just gonna try to sandwich these 2 pieces together. All right, so we're in our corner. I just slip stitched into this piece. So now I need to chain 2 as I work my corner. 2, and then we're gonna come in and do our cluster on the other half of this corner here. 2 and 3. Do our 3 more double crochets here in our next available space. 2 and 3. And our next available space, slip. Let me just go back and make sure. All right, yeah, or we've got those squares meeting. I like that corner. I'm happy with it. So sometimes you just got to do that. You got to eyeball it and make sure that, you know, in that particular corner, it's just looking right to you. So you're happy with your project. I'm going to go ahead and work down this row. I'm going to do my corner here, and then we're going to come down and work down this row, and I'll meet you back here, and we'll do the last row together. Okay, so we have worked side 1, side 2, and side 3. Now we just need to get to the 4th side here, which is our last. We're going to be working this last corner here. So far we've got our corner partially worked. We've slip stitched in. And then just make sure that I slip stitch into this over here. And I'm going to chain 2 for my corner. And then we're going to do our cluster. And then slip stitch in here. Let me just look back at that and make sure that my corner looks good. Beautiful. I'm very happy with it. I got to tie in that little tail there. Okay. My yarn's all caught up. I'm going to go ahead and work down here, and then I'll show you how to close up this last seam that has a little flappy. All right, so I'm down to that final corner here. So I've worked down this row here, and I just did my final cluster stitch here in this corner. Okay, now I need to be able to get this all closed up here. I'll tuck this little tail inside here so it's not in my way. So first thing that I need to do is I am going to be slip stitching into the corner of this square, which is what I would normally do to finish that row anyway, right? Okay, and then I need to slip stitch into the corner of this square over here, which is what I've been doing in all of my corners anyway. Okay. Now normally I would chain 2 and turn and work this corner, right? But we're not doing that this time. So all that we're doing is we're going to be slip stitching into the top of this stitch here, and then that should pull it right into where we want her to be. Let's just double check and make sure that that looks okay and acceptable, and it does. It looks really great. It's got a nice looking corner there. Okay, so all that I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little tail, so I know I want to be able to weave in that end, and then I'm just going to go ahead and pull through to kind of lock this in, and then I can just go ahead and take this little piece of string here and pull it through the other side. I'll weave my end in for that on the inside of the bag. So far, look at this. We have a bag that's forming. We should have one side of our bag completely done. Let's make sure. Of how our orientation is. There we go. All right. Yes, that's correct. Okay. So we have this side of the bag completely done. So bottom, side. There's no sewing involved with this. You're just doing this JAYGO method, the join as you go method, and that has closed out my side completely. It's closed out my bottom. This is a flap folded over. And then on this side, I just need to go ahead and repeat everything that I just did on this side. So let's walk through that real quickly here. So I have my square for this corner. I'm going to connect here and come over this way. Then I'm going to fold this square in half. Okay. And then I have my other square over here. When I come back up on this side, I'm going to be working on just this side of this folded piece, right? And then I'm going to be coming over and connecting it here. Then I'm going to tie off over here. So my triangle here, I'm working just kind of in its own. And then we're coming back in and we are attaching in this last square by itself. We'll have all the sides that will be finished edges, and we'll do what we just did, and that will be the last piece. So in summary here, you are going to be doing your 6 squares where you make the borders completely, and you're working down your 3 triangles in the middle, or not triangles, but your 3 diamond shaped squares in the middle and working around. Remember, we did in that zigzag formation down and then zigzag backed up. And then we just worked our corners. We worked this folded piece in here, and then we worked this last piece in here. And as you can see, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And as you can see, you know, I have to get this put in here, but this will be the bag. I'll come back in just a minute and show you how it looks when it's all finished with this all seamed in. Okay. All right, so here we have the finished project, or not completely finished. I still have to do my handles, but this is the finished seamed together bag. It turned out really great. Again, everything is handled with this join as you go, so you're not going to have to do any sewing or anything like that. It works, again, with any 13 square bag, whether you're using my pattern or any other pattern. Reminder, your size of your bag is dependent upon the size of your squares. So if you're looking at this bag and you're going, that's a little big, which it is. This is like a beach size bag, right? And if you want, I believe that this is like going to be about 22 inches across, just about. So this is a little bit of a larger bag. So if you want a smaller bag, you just go with a little bit of a smaller square. But the other really good thing is this bag is completely reversible. Now, the pattern is going to be the same essentially on the other side. So, I mean, you're not getting anything special by doing that, but it is going to be completely reversible. So fronts and backs look identically the same. So God forbid you get a stain on one side and you flip it inside out. You can also line this bag if you want to, but that's completely up to you. I don't want to line it. But anyway, I just wanted to show you the finished project, or product, of what it looks like, at least with the seaming. Make sure to check out my supplemental video on the watermelon bag, which is this, and that will show you how to make these squares, and it will show you how to put the strap on the bag. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things. If you are interested in purchasing any of this, make sure to check out my affiliate link for Premiere. And I hope you have a wonderful day. See you soon. Bye.